Hello, everybody. Welcome to the IC Topic Chats for, I guess it's March 10th. Can you believe it's March 10th, 2022? Today, we're joined by Guili Zhang, who is a member of the American Valuation Association Board of Directors. She's also, I call her the torchbearer for the CIPP model, the Context Input Process and Product model that was originally developed by Dr. Beam back in the day. And today she's going to be talking to us about developing budgets. So with that, Dr. Zhang, if you would take over, welcome to our group. We're very pleased to have you here today.
Well, thank you very much for such a lovely introduction. I'm so excited to be here today. It's turned out to be an international gathering. We have 40 people from different corners of the world, and I was excited to be reading the introduction in the chat area, and was amazed by the group of people who are here today. And I hope we will make this session a discussion type of session. So I will only spend maybe 20 minutes or so to briefly talk about developing evaluation budgets. Then I'll open the floor and we will start the chat discussion session. And during the chat, I will not be the lead person. I think it will be an equal opportunity discussion. Will that be okay? Does that sound good to everybody? Great. So Guili Zhang, I'm a professor and the department chairperson at East Carolina University. My department is called Department of Special Education, Foundations, and Research. Our school color, purple and gold. That's why I'm wearing gold today. Little too bright on the beach, but a little appropriate for the beach setting, I wish this is where I am, but I am not. I'm stuck in this, this office all day long. Okay. So Matt already talked a little bit about me. So AEA Board of Directors member, fairly new. I'm in the second year of my service on the AEA board, and I'm also a editorial advisory board of the American Journal of Evaluation. Well, I'm honored to be the co-author of the CIPP evaluation model book with the great late Dr. Daniel Beam, who I think everybody knows as the founding father, one of the founding fathers of the evaluation profession. And he was the one who founded the Joint Committee and served as its founding chair for the first 13 years. And it was a great opportunity to be working with him for about eight years on the CIPP evaluation model book, which was the only book-length presentation on the CIPP model, which is the oldest model. It started in 1965, so it has been here for 57 years and going strong. It's widely recognized around the globe. So besides my professional roles, I'm also a daughter of a family of farmers. My parents, we are from a small farm village. Both my parents never had a chance to go to school. So I'm a first generation college student, also a first generation student. And I'm also a wife and a mother with two children. One is attending college at Duke, and the other is a freshman in high school. Okay, why develop evaluation budget? So two reasons. One, founders should not buy a pig in a poke. And similarly, evaluators should not proceed to carry out an evaluation that's not supported by an appropriate budget. So I'll make it brief just without explanation. Now, there are 6 factors to consider when we develop the evaluation budget. One is we must address the interdependence of evaluation designs and evaluation budgets. They go hand in hand. So my suggestion is that when you design an evaluation, make note about a budget that corresponds to that piece of work or task. And 2, adhere to institutional requirements for sound evaluation budgets. And 3, when feasible, communicate with the funder in the process of developing the evaluation budget to know the expectations, the ceiling, how much, what's the maximum amount they can provide, so forth and so forth. 4, provide for periodic budget reviews and updates. And the reason is, there are always unexpected things happen. If you put this in the budget proposal, then you have a chance to review, to modify along the way, to either increase the budget amount, or if the evaluation scope narrows, then you can decrease if the work. It's beneficial for both the funder and the evaluator. 5, take account of the budgetary implication of formative versus summative evaluation, because these two types of evaluations are different in nature. And 6, tailor budgets in consideration of the particular type of evaluation agreement. And I'll explain that later. Now, ethical imperative in budgeting evaluations. We must construct evaluation budgets on sound ethical grounds and maintain integrity, transparency, and accountability. And also, the budget must meet the ethical requirements spelled out in the Joint Committee Program Evaluation Standards. And we must develop a budget professionally and prudently. Some unethical behavior, there are quite a variety of unethical behaviors, but 2 stand out. One is sometimes evaluators may deceptively and purposely inflate the budget in order to make a huge profit, unreasonably huge profit. A second unethical behavior that's what often occurring is buying a contract type of behavior. That situation is when an evaluator grossly underestimate a projected evaluation cost in order to win a bidding competition. And then when the evaluation starts and about midway into the evaluation, they have their hat in their hand, request for additional funds. And that's a trick, that should be discouraged. And this kind of behavior very much can hurt the reputation of the evaluator, and the funder may not hire the person again, and the word can spread wide and far, and this evaluator's reputation will be harmed quite severely. There are some ethical challenges and complications in funding evaluations. Sometimes we often actually encounter this kind of situation. That is, a funder insists on a certain scope of evaluation and also agrees with you on the needed evaluation operations, but they commit to less than what's needed to fund such a agreed upon evaluation plan. When that happens, you can either ask to increase the funding or decrease the scope of the work, or if your request cannot be met, then you can quit, you can refuse to do the work. But there are worse situations when you can't even quit. That is, when the funder has the authority to insist that you do the work with less funding. In that case, we suggest that the evaluator should include a caveat in the final report stating that funding restrictions prohibited the evaluator from fully and carry out all of the necessary evaluation tasks, and the reliability and the validity could not be assured, and that the client group should view the evaluation findings with a substantial level of circumspection. I see somebody coming, so I'm going to eliminate one person. Okay. So now we're going to get into the details. First, we'll think about the main evaluation budget line items we often encounter. Mainly 7 line items. That's personnel, travel, consultants, supplies, equipment, services, and the indirect costs. So personnel first. With the evaluation assignment, we often have many roles that need someone to fulfill. Here I listed 20, but that's not all. There are more. But we can't have, normally we would not staff 20 people to do each of these tasks. But we would group, we will have one person to handle several task items. And this is an example how an evaluator can form an evaluation staff. You can just take a look at them. Not going to go into detail. We all know that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I'll just let this picture be worth 1,000 words. So here we have 7 staff members: evaluation director, a traveling observer, a technical support specialist, a secretary, a consultant, an evaluation review panel, and an evaluation subcontractor that can handle all the 20 tasks that I show in the last slide, on the last slide. And travel, it's very self-explanatory. We often travel. We know what the associated costs are. And then consultants and subcontractors. So the main costs are the fees for the service, which can be a fixed amount or hourly or daily rates type of thing. And then another cost might be the combination cost of communication with the evaluator and the consultant's communication with other members of the evaluation team. And then a major cost might be travel, because it's likely that this consultant may be from out of town, from another side of the world that has this special qualification that can meet the a need of this project. So the evaluator should consider establishing a contract that includes a phased payment schedule tied to observable milestones or completion of specific tasks. And then supplies, very obvious, and equipment. The difference, sometimes it's hard to distinguish between supplies and equipment. A rule of thumb is supplies are usually those consumable. You use one time and it's gone, like paper. You use it to print and then you can't reuse the same piece of paper to print again. But the printer on the other side, you can use it to print over and over. After the project is over, you can still use it for some other projects and some other purposes. So that's how you distinguish the two. And then services. When we talk about services, we're talking about, there's maintenance services. If you need to do a survey, you may have to mail a lot of, physical envelopes and, the stamps, basically. And phone bills, if you conduct a phone survey, and photocopying, poster making, video making, graphic arts, and so forth. And then indirect costs, this we all know what it is. And very often institutions or organizations have a set rate for indirect costs. And when we work with federal funded organizations, when dealing with other funders such as private foundations, the evaluators organization may negotiate with the private funder about the indirect cost percentage. Evaluators should consult with the organization's business office. Very often it's called pre-award office about the indirect cost percentage. So now we're going to talk about developing different types of evaluation budgets. The first one is a fixed price evaluation budget. What I show here is an example. So this, the funder may just give you, I'm going to spend $10,000. That's all I have. You do what you can do. Give me a product that is useful, and I don't care how you are going to spend this $10,000. Just do what you need. So you would, as an evaluator, parcel out what can you, wisely spend this $10,000 and do a good job. So here I have all the line items of personnel, travel, consultants, and equipment, supplies, services, and direct, indirect costs. And budgeting under grants. In this case, the funder is mainly concerned with the quality of the evaluation provided, the quality product. So they also don't need you to be so, they're not overly concerned about how and what you do with, each assignment and who you hire and how you expend this amount. So again, the evaluator will make the decisions. Well, the third type is budgeting under cost reimbursable contract. In this case, the evaluators or organization and funder agree on a budget and to a schedule of payment. And the funder pays the evaluator institution for actual costs, but they will provide at the beginning for the amount of money that you need to launch the evaluation. And thereafter, they will just pay based on the bills you send. And of course, that needs to be tied with the, completed evaluation activities. A fourth one is budgeting under cost plus. Cost plus type of agreement, there are three types: cost plus a fee, cost plus a grant, and cost plus a profit. Now you can take a quick look at what each of these three types are. Okay, and a fifth type is a budgeting under cooperative agreements. So a cooperative agreement typically stipulates that the funder and the evaluator would collaborate in conducting the evaluation. There are some benefits to this agreement, but there are huge drawbacks to this type of agreements. So it often erodes the independence of the evaluator. Sometimes the funder want to impose, their will. They want to staff certain people, and they want to maybe not release certain embarrassing findings. They may not want you to investigate certain aspect of the project. So there can be a lot of undue, unjustified power, influence that's placed onto the evaluator. And so we would strongly discourage you to enter into such an agreement. If you have to, then we suggest that you negotiate a contract that clearly stipulates that the evaluator will have appropriate authority over expenditures, staffing, procedures, reporting, and so forth, to protect you, to ensure that the evaluation meet the professional evaluation standards and is accurate. And the last one is the modular budget. So here I'm showing a generic modular budget showing line items by task. So you can see the first columns are the usual line items, the 7 line items, and the tasks. The first group tasks are the planning, initial pilot study, instrument development, and so forth. And the second groups are data collection and stakeholder review panel and things like that. And the task C are the analysis, reporting, and follow-up system. Task B are the evaluation, training, and other capacity building, basically after the conclusion of the evaluation project. And then you have the row total and column total, and then you have the final total of 561,963 cents. Will clearly show where this huge figure come from. Otherwise, when you provide a big figure like this without such a detailed explanations or detailed parsing out of the numbers, it's likely that they will be shocked by such a huge figure. And Stafford Bean, when he served as the reviewer of the proposal, he often, without reading the proposal, first go to the back and look at the budget. If the budget is not clear, it's not does not have all these line items and the columns just have unexplainable huge figure, he would immediately recommend not to fund the proposal. And here is another modular budget that shows the line item by year. Remember, the previously was a line item by tasks, and this one is a line item by year 1 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's a row total and there's a column total and final number. And another one is a combination of both. So we can have the line items on the first column, and then we can have by year 1, 2, and 3, and then by task. Year 1, task 1, 2, 3. Year 2, task 1, 2, 3. So it's even more detailed. So this here I provide a summary of the different types of evaluation budgets. And what's the benefit for the evaluator? What's the benefit for the funder? What's the risks for both? Okay, now we have developed a checklist for developing evaluation budget. And this is not specifically tied to the CIPP evaluation model. This can work with any models. When you build evaluation budgets for when you carry out your evaluation using any evaluation model, you can use this checklist to develop your evaluation budget. So the first task is to examine the evaluation design to make sure that it includes the needed details for developing a sound evaluation budget. So you would check to see if you have all the details, applicable details. And task 2 is determine the type of evaluation budget agreement. Is it fixed price? Is it grant? Is it cost reimbursable? Cost plus a fee plus a grant plus a profit, or cooperative agreement or modular budget? You need to make a decision. And third is to determine the appropriate level of budget detail. Do you want to do line item, just a line item budget, or by task, in year, by task? Fourth one, determine pertinent cost factors. Here, you just jot down anything and everything that will cost money. You don't need to be overly concerned about the category yet. Just brainstorm and put down, look at all this, that this apply to my evaluation project. If so, check it. Check all that apply. And then you determine the line items. Some line items will be combined, like postage, like video making. All these, for postage, video making, this should be under service. And then you group line items into budget categories. And 7, this should be 7. Determine local contributions, if any. And 8, compute cost and charges. This is very compute the numbers. And then you document fiscal accountability provisions. And finally, clarify requirements for payment. The funding source and contact person's financial reporting requirements, schedule of financial reports and amounts and schedule of payments. Tie up everything. So this is basically it. I think I stayed within my time limit. All these examples and checklists can be found in this CIPP evaluation model book that we worked on for 8 years. The collaboration mainly took place over via email. At that time, we didn't have Zoom, unfortunately, and we didn't have Teams or Skype. We may, but we found that email was the most effective way, and also by phone calls when we have to have a discussion. So remotely collaborating for 8 years, and I was glad that this was published in the year 2017, and just several months before Dan unfortunately passed away. But he was happy that the book was published, and he was happy about how the cover looks and also how the book came out. And today's, participants, if you want, I can get you the flyer for 25% off plus free shipping. If you need it, you can let Matt know. Now we'll have our discussion. I don't need to be the leader. I don't want to be the leader. Let's have an equal opportunity discussion.
Thank you for being so gracious and sharing so many of your thoughts and lists. I don't imagine you've had a chance to read all of the chat that's happening, but it's very glowing about the lists and the thoughts here. I'm going to pause, stop the recording, and let's jump into a conversation.